You are Locked On Chargers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome in to the Locked On Chargers Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. Another comfortable victory for the Bolts. I am Pete Fox, covering sports in LA dating back to 2007 for ESPN and NBC Sports Radio. He is the newly minted Oregon Duck Hall of Famer and three-time Super Bowl champion. You just keep adding accolades.
Keep adding accolades and titles.
Kenyon Barner, welcome back, buddy. Nice to have you.
Appreciate
Chargers
you.
with a 27-10 win. Should have been 27-3, but the Chargers really kind of coasted in the second half. This was the purest definition of salting away a victory that I've ever seen. The Chargers, it was kind of interesting. It felt like at times they were rolling, and then at times we look at some of the numbers and it was not good. I mean, was it three and outs in a row in the second half where the Browns defense kept going and the Chargers just really couldn't get a whole lot of anything going, but they didn't need to because their defense was really, really on point today, shutting down Jameis Winton and the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, it was a great defensive day for the Chargers. Outside of the three kind of mind-blowing plays that the Cleveland Browns had, it was a pretty good defensive day for them as well, especially up front with Myles Garrett and those guys getting after Herbert the way that they were. But nonetheless, the objective of this game is to win, and that's what the Chargers did today.
6 sacks for 36 yards. Wow. And three of them came in the first quarter. Myles Garrett was having a day. And I was this does not look good. When we obviously know Myles Garrett is a stud and he is tough to deal with. But Jim Harbaugh sometimes to me is like, he's just such a confusing character to understand because he's so interesting. You're like, does he really know anything about football, or is he just confused everyone and convinced everyone that he does? Because in between the first and the second quarter, the sideline reporter asked him about protecting Herbert, and his response was, yeah, we got to protect him. I'm like,
it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a better answer.
Got to protect him. I feel like that is more about him just not wanting to do those reports, in between quarters rather than that. Cause that's a fairly typical response from guys that don't care. We got to be better. Yeah. That wasn't good. But here's the thing that's interesting. They were. So maybe that question, woke him up a little bit and said, hey, we need to do a better job on the offensive line. And they did, because although, they still had 6 sacks on the day, they weren't as frequent as they were early in the game, and they got it going, which was nice to see. But you just mentioned it briefly, and I think it deserves exploring. Those 2 touchdown coverage breaks by the Cleveland Browns were mind-boggling. I was
Ward.
I went and rewound the tape, and I was like, what in the hell is he doing? He's covering nobody.
No one. He's covering space.
Peeling off the route to go into the flat when the receiver is streaking down the sideline. I'm like, what? I guess he's expecting the safety to help him out. But
one of them was covered too. And another one was, I believe he was supposed to carry the receiver, and he didn't. He stayed in the flat, and you had 2 flat defenders there. It was just blown assignments. It was complete brain farts, and things that you can't have out of a veteran player.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, that changed the tone of the game for the Chargers. But the other thing I noticed is that, Quentin Johnston wasn't there last week, and he was there today. And there is a notable difference of confidence from Herbert, from the offense, just more weapons when Johnston is on the field. I just felt a little bit more comfort because he's a guy. I mean, 4 catches today for 118 yards. He's a big play guy. And when you don't have that option, Ladd McConkey's good, Ladd McConkey is your safety belt. Your
Ladd's not going to take the top off the defense, and our guys, Quentin, he has that ability. He has that deep ball ability. Can run past you, can catch the ball, and really make explosive plays in the pass game. Not saying that Ladd can't. Ladd reminds me a lot of Wes Welker. That's who he puts me in the mind of. Quick, shifty, out of the slot, make guys miss and extend plays after the catch.
Yeah, especially when the DB is not covering him.
Makes your job a hell of a lot easier.
Well, on the defensive side of things for the Chargers, they got after the quarterback, Jameis Winston, 6 sacks as well. Morgan Fox, no relation, had 2 of them, but he had a heck of a day batting down passes. I thought the defensive line was very good. The Chargers defense in general is tough. Number 1 in the scoring defense department, which is just a confusing way to describe that stat. That to me says they score a lot of points on defense. It's the other way around.
That's
right?
How I look at it. Yeah.
How many points do they allow? And they are the lowest in the allowing points department. So the Chargers defense tops in the NFL, which is a good feeling for Charger fans, you have to assume. Not something they've been used to over the past few years, but feels like there's some confidence, doesn't it, Kenyon? A little momentum rolling here. Johnston's healthy. Herbert is healthy. Dobbins running the ball again. Kamani Vidal, 5 carries, just 7 yards, but they were hard yards. And I just like
hard yards.
I like the fact they're giving him the ball because I feel like that guy has a fairly decent upside.
Yeah, definitely got to give him an opportunity. But going back to that defense for a second, you got to show some love to Dyan Henley and Thule as well. Those guys had excellent games. Dyan had 14 tackles, 8 solo tackles. Yeah, 14 tackles, had a day on the and a tackle for a loss. And Thule came up with 6 tackles and 2.5 sacks. So those guys had heck of a days, not including Mac, who we know what he's going to do each and every game. The defense just bought. I remember during the game, one of the announcers said, "When was the last time you said about a Chargers defense that they were going to stop anybody?" And that's what this defense has turned into up under Harbaugh. Just savages, dogs, hungry go-getters. And when they are all collectively on the field together, it's a completely different defense.
Yeah, 3 interceptions today of Jameis Winston. Tarheeb still is the real deal. And I don't know if I told you the story, but back in preseason, the very first game of the year, and I'm a football fan, but I am not a preseason football fan. And when I got the word from the producer, Sam, that we're covering preseason, I was like, are you kidding me? Really? Like, all right. So I covered, the first game, and it's dead summer. It's baseball season. They're like, all right, cover the preseason football game. And I was like, okay. And having watched a few preseason games here or there, that there's nobody familiar on the field.
No one, especially these days.
Yeah. And the goal is really, we had a little conversation, and Sam was like, look, just look up the draft picks and reference them and see how they do, because they'll get out there and play, a few series. And I guess I got up at some point late in the game and went to the bathroom or something, and I missed Tarheeb still knocking away a pass. So then at the end of the game, I went through the list of draft picks, and I was like, I didn't see Tarheeb still on the field. And some guy came into the comments and roasted me. He was like, how could you miss Tarheeb still? It was unbelievable. That dude was balling. Like, it was the Super Bowl. And I'm like, it's the first preseason. It's August 4th. Relax.
Fans don't care.
Yeah,
fans don't care at all.
Turned out to be the real deal. He is a baller, dude. I mean, that guy.
Yeah, he was all over the field.
Yeah, and he broke up that pass deflection breakup in the end zone. That
tip balls got to have him. Tip balls got to have him.
That was a fantastic play to get his hand on the ball, and then it turned into an interception for Gilman right at the end of the third. But as I said, right after that, Chargers 3 and outs. So, I guess you kind of just overlook that and go, it didn't matter. They were up comfortably at that time, 20-3. So
but it does matter, and it should matter because absolutely. Because if you really look at this game, the Chargers need to be thankful that the Browns were in the Christmas spirit of giving. They completely gave this game away. It wasn't like the Chargers took it. The defensive wise, don't get me wrong, the defense did their part, held it down, but the Browns gave this game away early with those 3 blown plays, the 2 passes.
Could have been 34-10 easily if they would have had their foot on the gas a little bit more. Yeah, that's a very good point. I want to talk about Jameis Winston after the break, because just from the start of the game to the performance during the game, I thought was very, very interesting. And I was almost like, for a second, I was like, wait, Jameis Winston is still playing? He obviously drafted 15, so 9 seasons ago, number 1 overall pick, and has had a pretty decent career. But me being a Titans fan as well, because my dad lives in Nashville. Your fellow team, were you on that team with the number 2 pick by the Titans
with Marcus Mariota?
Yeah, were you on that team?
Yeah, I had him for a year. I had him. I think that was his redshirt freshman year that I had him.
All right, so I remember Mariota very well because of the Titans, and because at the time I was working at ESPN covering the Trojans, and I would go to Pac-12 Media Day, and Mariota was just the best, dude. He would talk to everybody, super friendly, down to earth. So I those guys going 1 and 2, I'd always pay attention. Did the Titans get the right guy? And it's hard to say at this point. I think they're both good and have had successful NFL careers. But we'll talk about Winston after the break. It's the Locked On Chargers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. Kenyon Barner, Pete Fox will be back after the break and get into Winston's day. All right, today's episode of the Locked On Chargers postcast is brought to you by Robinhood Gold. You don't need a silver spoon to eat up financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold always allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn a very liberal rate of 4.5 APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. The new gold standard is here. Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood Gold, Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risks. Rates may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Today's episode also brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded prizes. PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, has made DFS accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players from 2 teams and win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long at PrizePicks. PrizePicks has action in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas, and now offers Venmo for quick, easy deposits and withdrawals into the account this sports season. So make sure you check it out. PrizePicks.com. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly off your first $5 lineup. That's PrizePicks.com, or download the app. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL at PrizePicks. You'll get $50 instantly off of your first play. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, the Chargers back-to-back victories today, 27-10 over the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland, where it was over fairly early, 20-3 at the break, and the Browns fans were none too pleased about this. There was a lot of talk coming in that Jameis Winston, off of a big win last week over the Baltimore Ravens, had the team rolling, and they were pumping him up in the pregame. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but my remembrance of Jameis Winston, like 8-9 years ago, coming out of college, was he was very chill, loosey-goosey, maybe criticized for not being serious enough. Well, evidently he's taking that to heart, because that pregame interview on CBS was like, I was like, dude, the deference and the reverence for the Almighty was, I felt like I was in church there for a second, because, I'm like,
yeah, amen, hallelujah.
Time with the playbook and less time with the good book. I was just like, it was, he was preaching, and like, it was militaristic. He was overly serious. And I was just kind of like that. It just felt very awkward, because it didn't seem like it was all about football. He was just like spouting phrases and, things that had nothing to do with football. So I was like, I don't know if he's like trying to prove to everyone that this is a new and improved Jameis Winston, that he's just, I'm serious, I'm all about ball right now, and that's it, right?
Well, no, I don't think that, because excuse me. If there's
overly
clips of him
intense to you?
Huh?
It didn't seem overly intense to you, that pregame speech?
No, I think it was a moment, one, where he wanted to give, honor and praise to his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, which he did and which he kept bringing it back to. And it was a moment that I believe he didn't think would come. Jameis has kind of had a road that's going up and down as a quarterback. And so how often do you find yourself back in a position where you're the starting quarterback going forward and an opportunity right at hand? And then not only that, but you're playing against the Baltimore Ravens, one of the best teams in the league. Lamar Jackson at quarterback, and you come out and you perform the way that he did. So I think it was more so just him trying to give praise to God, and he did that, and that's what he wanted to bring the attention to. It wasn't necessarily about football for him, but it was about being thankful and being grateful for the opportunity that he is now walking in.
Yeah, I guess I'm just not used to it in the pregame. I was, I was surprised that he was going down that road in the pregame. Usually that's something that happens after the game, after you've won a big game. I get all that. It makes sense, right? But the pregame is kind of like, you can reference, I'm blessed to be here and all of that. I get it. But he just kept kind of coming back to it.
That's all he wanted to talk about. Yeah, that's it. That's it. But if you pay it,
he had this look on his face of just pure seriousness and determination.
I'm locked in.
Which again, I'm like, wait, I thought Jameis Winston was like chill, like laid back, like
he is.
Not so.
You gotta watch. It's plenty of internet clips on him where he's talking to the team. He's still goofy. Don't get it twisted. Jameis is goofy. Even when he's serious, he's goofy.
Yeah. Today, I felt like we have to give credit to the Charger defense on this as well. There were some times where he was on point, and it felt like he was going to pick up where he left off last week. But then there were other times where he was just off and the ball was late, and it's like the game caught up with him real fast when you've got a good defense like that. As I mentioned to you before we started the show here, at times covering both the Trojans and the Chargers, I feel like there are a lot of crazy similarities between these two teams.
Tell the people about the similarities. Tell the people about the similarities between the two.
Well, it's for me, it's a lot about the running game. When I was doing the Trojans postcast yesterday after they lost again, which I'm sure you don't have a problem with as an Oregon Duck. The running game, I was like, they need to figure out a way to get the ball to Woody Marks better than handing it to him. And I'm like, no, that's the Chargers. And so that's where I got confused, where like the Chargers, I remember after last week's win, I'm like, they got to figure out a better way to get the ball to J.K. Dobbins. And they did that today. He had a much better day running the ball. The 2 touchdowns seemed like beautiful plays, beautiful execution. I love it when a running back hits the hole and is blocked, or the hole is plugged up and he bounces it outside and
that second window
and just skates into the end zone. That to me is like, that is good running right there. And something yesterday the Trojans could have used on the goal line, 4th and 1. Hey, let's give it to Woody Marks. Okay, cool. That didn't work. Let's give it to Woody Marks again and run the same play. Stone. Hey, you're supposed to be a offensive genius. Open up the playbook. Stop running the same play over and over again. Oh, that was frustrating.
Speaking of opening up the playbook, I would love to see them use J.K. more out of the backfield, running option routes, running angle route, because he's capable and he can do that.
Like Woody Marks.
Right. So we've seen a little bit of that early in the season a couple times, but it's almost as if they're scared to do it, and I don't know why. Greg, he's familiar with him. He knows what he's capable of. He knows what he can do. So that is an area that I would look going forward for the Chargers. Figure out a way to get J.K. the ball out of the backfield. He can be a dangerous option out of the backfield, running those option routes. He's shifty, he's quick, and he has really good hands.
Yeah, 2 catches today for 20 yards. So maybe, that's a step in that direction, in correlation or, comparison to what he marks, he's the Trojans' number one receiver, which doesn't make any sense to me when you got so many good receivers. It's like, I can see why this team is struggling over there. Fortunately, the Chargers are more on point. They are a little bit more logical with this. They gave the ball to JK 14 times, his long of 24 and 2 touchdowns. So a really nice day for him today. And they spread the ball out offensively. Quentin Johnston with 4 catches, 5 targets, only missed 1. Ladd McConkey, 5 receptions, 7 targets, good for 64 yards. Josh Palmer had one of those easy touchdowns on the defensive breakdown there. He had 2 for 63. And Will Dissly, somebody that got the ball quite frequently with Johnston being injured today, not so much, which is fine. I think, Dissly is there as another safety blanket the way Ladd McConkey is. 2 catches today for 9 yards, 2 out of 3. So they spread it out nicely. When you look at Herbert's numbers, I think not great, but good, very good. 18 to 27, 282 yards. That's a stellar number right there, and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. I think is probably the one we appreciate the most.
Appreciate that the most. Hold on to that ball.
Yeah, unlike Winston, who had 3 interceptions. That's tough to win a game when you got that many turnovers. 27-10.
Those 3 interceptions, some of them were terrible throws, but you got to, again, give the Chargers defense credit. Their secondary were wrapped around those guys like clothes on a hanger. They gave them 0 breathing room. There was a lot of times he wanted to go to his first option. It wasn't there. His second option wasn't there. You notice him kind of pump faking and clutching the ball a lot. That defense really held it down and really performed today.
Yeah, Tarheeb Still with his first interception of his career, and that was just he was, as you said, he was just draped all over the receiver, and then a very nice move to cut inside and snatch it basically before the receiver was able to get his hands on it. So,
and even on that one, that receiver, I don't know if that was a end cut route or a basic. That receiver rounded, he opened the window up for Taib to go in there and get that interception. He rounded that route off something. It was an ugly route. I don't know exactly what the route was, but it kind of, what it resembled to me was a basic route, but it wasn't ran like one. And anytime you round that off, you leave the door open for a DB to undercut you. And he recognized it, did it, picked it, and got his first one.
One of the things that didn't go well today for the Chargers special teams, we'll get into that after the break. I was like, he's Kenyon Barner and Pete Fox. This is the Locked On Chargers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out whenever a game is done. You can also listen wherever you find your podcasts on the Locked On Chargers podcast feed. All right, today's episode of the Locked On Chargers postcast also brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel Let me start over here. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Kind of need a comma in there. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL right in the middle of the game, all in one place. And FanDuel gives you that huge bonus and gives you the opportunity to get that hunch that you've got going into play. And I don't know about you, I love live bets, because if you're really close to a team and you're paying attention to what's happening, you can get a lot of advantage and action on a game right in the middle of the game. So check out the live bets in the middle of the game. Take that hunch and turn it into money. You can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com. Join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Today's show also brought to you by Hillsdale College. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? History, economics, the great works of literature, the meaning of the U.S. Constitution. Did you study these things in school? Probably not. Or even if you did, maybe it's time for a refresher course. Time and technology have changed lots of things, but they have not changed basic fundamental truths about the world and our place in it. So make sure you check out just a few of the courses that are available. Constitution 101, the meaning and the history of the Constitution, the great American story, a land of hope, and so much more. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. No cost at all. It's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. All right, Chargers back-to-back wins. They beat the Saints last week. They beat the Browns this week, puts them to 5-3. Denver lost, so that means I think they're tied for second now behind the Chiefs.
Blew out.
Yeah, so that's good for them. They got it going in the right direction, and it feels like everyone's healthy. Knock on wood. Hopefully that can keep up. And they play the Titans next week, which is an absolute gift because they're garbage. Although I think they won today with a win over another garbage team, the New England Patriots. They needed overtime to beat the Patriots, 20-17.
A lot of glad bags in the league this year. A lot of glad bags out there.
Yeah, it's funny. Start of the season, you kind of look at the schedule and you're like, oh, that's going to be a tough one. That's going to be a tough one. That's going to be a tough one. And then by week 3, you're like, cakewalk, cakewalk, cakewalk. It's like it all starts to become very, very clear as to where you're going to need to get tough wins and where you're going to get easy cakewalks, because I'm not surprised by these wins by the Chargers. Again, today it felt like you said, like, all right, yeah, that was easy, but it could have been better. Like, for example, Dicker the kicker missed an extra point and a field goal.
On point. He's been so on point. It's crazy. That kicker position to me, that's a mind game position. I would hate to be a kicker at any level, because it's not on anybody else but you. The pressure's on you, the attention's on you, and the end result is strictly on you unless it's blocked or the holder messes up, but it's all on you. And today he just was not the Dicker that we know, the Dicker that we're accustomed to seeing. He had an off day, but you can't have too many more of those because they will find someone else to come in and do your job for you.
It goes south fast. That you're right, though. It is such a mental game. I don't know if you play golf, but it is similar to golf.
I'm terrible.
It's why
I'm awful.
Kickers are usually good golfers because
good golfers.
Similar mindset, right?
Yeah.
You gotta swing that. Instead of swinging your leg, you're swinging a club. But it can go from good to bad in one swing, right?
Instantly. Like, absolutely.
I just made a birdie and the next tee shot is in the trees.
You're bogeyed.
Bogeyed. Yeah, that'd be nice sometimes. But yeah, so I'm not worried about Dicker. That streak was insane. I'm assuming they didn't bring it up in the middle of the broadcast, which I thought was surprising, but I feel like it was 58 consecutive field goals, which excuse me, hold on. Yeah, 58 consecutive was snapped or something like that, with that miss there. And he's missed a fair share of extra points, which is also kind of surprising. But when it came to field goals, he had been locked in for a very, very long time. So let's hope that there's no problems there. Everything's fine. Just had a, bad snap. Yeah, something distracted him or a bad hold. I don't know. But
and look, speaking of special teams, I want to give a shout out to Darius Davis.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up.
The ball. Yeah, getting out there.
I thought about you when I saw that run. I'm all, that's very Kenyon Carter right there.
Yeah, and he had a heck of a return. It was good to see him out there really performing and really putting the team in position to score. I don't think people truly understand how important punt return is. Kick return is cool, but punt return is more pivotal than any other special teams category when you're on that field because you want to swing at everything. It's kick return. I'll put it this way. You're a baseball fan. In baseball, you want to wait on the right pitch. You just don't want to go up there swinging at everything. Whereas on punt return, you're trying to return as many balls as possible because every single yard helps your team in the punt game. So shout out to him, and I hope he continues to go forth and continues to be who he is and who we've seen him be.
Yeah. So what? 2 punt returns today for 64 yards. That's big
64.
chunk action right there. And then wasn't the one early in the game that was the kickoff, wasn't it? Like that he got him into Browns territory like right away, just like zigzagging his way up the field. Like I feel like
he's nice.
We've heard so much about what he's capable of, and I feel like that's the first time we've actually seen it this year. And I was like, yeah, that's right. I knew you could do it.
He has some spots earlier in the year. Where you can it's flashes of it, but you want to see it consistently. You want to see him get this opportunity, but that also goes to the special team coordinators drawing up things to where he's getting returns, where it's more returns rather than rushes. A lot of times you don't get returns out of returns because it's a rush setup, and so guys on the gunners on the outside are singled up, and it's hard to block those guys one-on-one. But any opportunity that you can to pull somebody from the box or to double those gunners, you should get more returns. So hopefully they realize what they have in him, because they do have something special in him, to where they gear the return game more towards returns rather than rushes.
No, you're right though. Those were punts. There was the Chargers had no kick returns today, so I thought for whatever reason it was a kick return early in the game, but it was a punt. The one very early in the first quarter, after the Chargers, I think they went 3 and out, and then they forced a 3 and out, and then so it felt like it was in the first couple of minutes of the game, and I believe it was. So a nice day for him as well. I think they did just about everything good today except protect the quarterback. So Joe Alt and his offensive line need to do a little bit better job, and I'm assuming that is on their radar, especially if you go back to what the sideline reporter presented the question to Harbaugh. What do you have to do? You got to protect the quarterback. Okay.
Yeah, listen, and Rashawn Slater, we got to get him some help. He won't face another Myles Garrett. We all understand who Myles Garrett is, but my guy was having his way today. He was having a rough time over there on that island.
Yeah. Well, we've seen them deal with guys like that before, and it cost them a lot more than a few sacks. So today they come out with a win, and it didn't ultimately cost them. So 5-3 now, 3-2 on the road, tied for second in the AFC West, and a punching bag next week in the Tennessee Titans.
You're so disrespectful.
I love it.
I love it.
I am the biggest surprise to me about the Titans this year is that somehow Will Levis got a mayonnaise commercial. Like, how is that he's not even playing anymore, and he didn't deserve necessarily to be a starter in the first place, but he got a commercial. I mean, is it just because he has kind of, wavy hair? I don't understand.
It has to be the hair. It has to be the hair. His hair and his marketing agent. Gotta give it to those two things.
Exactly. His agent deserves all the credit there, because he does not deserve to be on a commercial based on his play. That's just terrible. But I would buy mayonnaise with or without Will Levis. I don't need him to promote it for me. I'm a mayonnaise guy.
Are you a mayonnaise or a Miracle Whip guy?
Definitely mayonnaise. But if I'm pressed into it, I'll eat Miracle Whip if I have to. But
I'm a Miracle Whip guy. Miracle Whip, that's I prefer that. It's just sweeter. I like sweets.
It's a whole thing. Like, to me, it is for specific situations. Like, I get a craving for it every now and then, but I'm a huge mayonnaise fan. And this week, again, another thing we have in common, because a lot of people, do you ever meet people that are so disgusted by mayonnaise they almost don't want to be your friend anymore because you like mayonnaise?
Absolutely.
Like, oh my gosh, this I'm like, it's
the end of the world to them. Yeah, it's just mayonnaise. Yeah.
It's just mayonnaise. Relax.
It's just all right. Don't worry about it. You don't have to eat it.
Some people are just so offended. Like, there's no other condiment on earth that can be as bipolar. People are like, you love it or you hate it.
That statement. Yeah.
It's almost like politics. You're on one side or the other. You like mayonnaise, or you don't, and if you're on the other side, I don't like
right there. That was
I don't
good.
like you anymore.
That was good.
Well, good stuff today, Kenyon. Have a good week. Speaking of the election, fingers crossed that it all goes well.
Listen, I hope it does. We need it to go well for this country.
Yeah, we're not supposed to talk about politics here, so I'm not going to say.
We won't talk about it. We won't talk about it.
Just hope it goes well. Let's hope it goes well. Like, and
whichever way that is, we hope it goes well. Okay.
There's only one way it can go to be well. All right. Kenyon Barner, Pete Fox, Locked On Chargers Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We didn't get any comments today. Where's all the regulars? I had people yesterday after the Chargers game go, I'll see you tomorrow.
It's a big win.
No one popped in. I don't know what the hell's going on.
It's a big win. Nobody cared. It's a win.
Right, exactly. They were out at halftime, like this game's over.
Yeah.
All right, man. Have a good week. I will talk to you next Sunday. Chargers, Titans.
All right, my guy.
From I think it's where is it? I think it's in Nashville. Is that right? Vegas?
It is. No, it's at home. It's at home.
105. All right, man. Have a good week. Take care. We'll talk to you guys next week. The Locked On Chargers Postcast for Kenyon Barner. I am Pete Fox. Have a good week.